Kyrie's silence spoke louder than everyone else's presence. Nobody expected the most important player in Cleveland Cavaliers history to be the one missing from the room. Think about that for a second. LeBron James was there. J.R. Smith was there. Tristan Thompson was there. The teammates who helped deliver Cleveland's first NBA championship in more than 50 years were smiling, taking photos, reliving memories, and celebrating one of the greatest moments in basketball history. But the man who hit the biggest shot of the entire championship run, going it, no appearance, no speech, no reunion photo, no explanation. And suddenly, what was supposed to be a celebration became one of the biggest NBA talking points of the offseason, because when fans saw the pictures from the 2016 Cavaliers reunion, one question immediately exploded across social media. Where is Kyrie Irving? At first, some people assumed it was a scheduling conflict. Maybe he was traveling. Maybe he had business commitments. Maybe he simply couldn't make it. But then J.R. Smith stepped into the conversation and poured gasoline on the fire. According to JR, Kyrie wasn't forgotten. He wasn't excluded. He wasn't left off the guest list. He was invited. Multiple people reportedly reached out. And according to JR, Kyrie simply ghosted everyone. Just like that, the narrative changed. Now, the story wasn't about a missed event. It was about a deliberate absence. And that's what made the entire situation fascinating, because we're not talking about a role player. We're not talking about someone sitting at the end of the bench. We're talking about the man who drilled one of the coldest shots in NBA Finals history. Game 7, under a minute remaining. Series tied, season on the line, championship hanging in the balance. Kyrie Irving pulled up over Steph Curry and buried a three-pointer that changed Cleveland sports forever. That shot became part of NBA history. Without it, there is no championship parade. Without it, there is no historic 3-1 comeback. Without it, there is no legendary Cavs title story. Yet somehow, years later, when the championship team gathered together, Kyrie wasn't there. And the more people talked about it, the stranger it felt. Because if LeBron could make time, if nearly every key contributor could make time, why couldn't Kyrie? Or maybe the better question is, why didn't he want to? That's where things get interesting. Because only days after the reunion photos went viral, Kyrie finally broke his silence. Not with an interview, not with a podcast, not with a press conference. Instead, he posted a simple photograph of the 2016 Cavaliers. And hidden inside that message was one word that instantly caught the attention of NBA fans everywhere. One word that may explain everything. One word that could reveal why Kyrie chose to stay away from the reunion entirely. And once fans noticed it, the debate became even bigger than the reunion itself. Was Kyrie simply busy, or was he quietly sending a message that had been building for nearly a decade? We're about to find out. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from today. And if you think Kyrie's absence was more than just a scheduling conflict, type 1 inch the comments. If you believe he was simply too busy to attend, type 2. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because the deeper we dig into this story, the more complicated it becomes. The reunion that turned into a message. The reunion was supposed to be simple. A group of former teammates coming back together. A championship team remembering the night they shocked the basketball world. The 2016 Cavaliers were not just another title team. They were the team that came back from 3-1 against a 7-3 win Golden State Warriors squad. They were the team that brought Cleveland a championship after decades of heartbreak. So when the photos dropped, fans expected nostalgia. They expected smiles. They expected old stories. But instead, the whole internet zoomed in on the empty space. Kyrie Irving was not there, and that absence changed the entire meaning of the event. Because Kyrie was not just part of that team. He was one of the reasons that team is remembered at all. Then J.R. Smith made the story even louder. He made it clear that Kyrie was invited. According to him, LeBron reached out, Tristan reached out, others reached out. Kyrie did not respond the way people expected. That word ghosted became the center of everything. It made fans ask whether Kyrie had purposely refused to take part in a reunion that many people saw as another chapter in the LeBron legacy story. And that is where the tension lay. Because for years, the 2016 title has often been told as LeBron's greatest achievement. The block, the comeback, the promise to Cleveland, the emotional return, the king delivering for his hometown area. All of that is real, but it is not the whole story. Kyrie was there too. Kyrie carried real weight too. Kyrie made the shot too. And maybe that is exactly why he stayed away. Maybe he looked at that reunion and realized the spotlight would never truly be balanced. Maybe he knew the story would once again become about LeBron first, LeBron second, and everyone else after. For some players, showing up is easy. For Kyrie, showing up may have meant accepting a version of history he never fully agreed with. And that is when a reunion stops being a reunion. It becomes a test. The shot that history tried to shrink. There are shots in NBA history that never disappear. Michael Jordan over Byron Russell, Ray Allen in the corner, Kawhi Leonard's bounce against Philadelphia, and Kyrie Irving over Steph Curry. Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals was not just a basketball game, it was pressure at its highest level. The Warriors had the record, the momentum, the home court, the aura of inevitability. Cleveland had one chance to complete the impossible. Then Kyrie got the ball. Steph Curry switched on to him. The clock was falling. The game was tied, and Kyrie did not panic. He danced, created space, rose up, and hit the kind of shot that can define an entire career. That three-pointer was not lucky. It was not random. It was not a small detail in a bigger LeBron story. It was the championship shot. Without that shot, everything changes. No parity. No legendary comeback. No Cleveland mirror. No endless debate about LeBron's greatest finals achievement. But over time, something strange happened. The more people talked about 2016, the more Kyrie's shot seemed to get pushed behind LeBron's block. The block became the symbol, the block became the poster. The block became the clip that led every highlight package. And yes, LeBron's block was iconic. But Kyrie's shot won the game. That is why Kyrie's absence from the reunion hit so hard. It reminded fans that history is not only about what happened, it is also about who gets credit for what happened. Kyrie may not say it loudly. He may not explain every feeling in public, but his silence around that reunion made people revisit the old question. Did the basketball world truly give him his share of that championship? Or did his greatest moment become another scene in someone else's movie? One word changed everything. When Kyrie finally responded, he did not rant. He did not attack anyone. He did not give the media a long interview. He simply posted a photo of the 2016 Cavaliers and wrote a message that looked peaceful on the surface. Al for one for Al. We completed the mission together as brothers. That sounds respectful. That sounds calm. But the most powerful word in that entire message was not mission. It was not brothers. It was we. We completed the mission, not he. Not one man, not one superstar carrying everyone else like passenger. That one word carried years of meaning because Kyrie knows how the story has been told. He knows that 2016 is often used as the centerpiece of LeBron's legacy. He knows that fans, media shows, and debate panels have spent years turning that championship into proof of one man's greatness. But Kyrie's message pushed back without sounding bitter. He did not need to scream. He did not need to name LeBron. He simply reminded everyone that basketball is a team sport, and that championship required more than one hero. That is why the post mattered. It was not just a caption. It was a correction. And maybe that is what made people uncomfortable. Because once Kyrie says we, fans are forced to remember the full picture. They remember his scoring. They remember his shot making. They remember his confidence. They remember that when the pressure reached its highest point, Kyrie did not hide. He delivered. So when he skipped the reunion and then posted we, it felt like a quiet message to the entire basketball world. You can celebrate the title. You can celebrate LeBron, but do not erase the rest of us, especially not me. The brotherhood that cracked behind the scenes. The word brotherhood sounds beautiful when a team is winning. It sounds powerful during a parade. It sounds perfect in a caption, but the real test of brotherhood comes after the cameras leave. And that is where the Kyrie-LeBron relationship became complicated. After the 2016 title, reports came out that LeBron had interest in major roster changes. Names like Chris Paul and Paul George were connected to possible moves, and in those conversations, Kyrie's name reportedly became part of the discussion. Imagine being Kyrie in that moment. You just helped bring Cleveland its first NBA championship. You hit the biggest shot in franchise history. You stood next to LeBron on the biggest stage. You believed you had built something real. Then you hear that you might be replaceable. That changes everything. Because once a player feels like the loyalty is one-sided, the relationship never feels the same again. Kyrie may have looked at the situation and thought, if this is a brotherhood, why am I being discussed like a trade piece? That is where the emotional break begins. Not with one quote, not with one missed reunion, but with the feeling that the public story and the private reality were not matching. In public, it was unity. In private, it may have felt like business. And when Kyrie eventually asked out of Cleveland, the media framed him as the problem. The ungrateful star. The player who left LeBron. The young guard who wanted too much control. But maybe Kyrie saw something others did not want to admit. Maybe he saw that his role in the story would always have limits as long as he stood beside LeBron. He could be praised. He could be celebrated, but only up to a certain point. And for a player with Kyrie's pride, talent, and sense of independence, that was never going to be enough. When the media picked a side, the moment Kyrie wanted out, the conversation changed. Before that, he was the clutch scorer, the magician with the handle, the fearless guard who helped beat Golden State. But once he stepped away from LeBron, the tone shifted. Suddenly, the questions became sharper. Why would he leave? Did-il LeBron? Was he being selfish? Could he lead a team by himself? The media treated Kyrie's decision less like a career choice and more like an act of betrayal. That is the part many fans still remember. Kyrie did not just leave a team, he left LeBron. And in the NBA media world, leaving LeBron came with consequences. Every move after that was judged through the same lens. Boston did not end perfectly. Brooklyn became complicated. Dallas became another chapter in the story of Kyrie trying to control his own path. But underneath all of it was the same question. Could Kyrie build a legacy that did not depend on LeBron? That question followed him everywhere. And maybe that is why the Cavs reunion was never just about one event. For Kyrie, going back may have felt like walking into the same old narrative machine. Smile for the cameras. Stand beside LeBron. Let everyone retell the story in the same way. But Kyrie has never been the kind of player who performs just to make people comfortable. He has always moved differently. Sometimes that frustrates fans. Sometimes that confuses people. But it is consistent. He values control over image. He values his own truth over public approval. So when the reunion happened, Kyrie may have made the same choice he has made many times before. He chose distance over pretending. And whether people agree or not, that is exactly why the story still feels so powerful. Kyrie refused to be a prop. This is where the story stops being about a reunion and starts becoming something much bigger. Because let's be honest for a moment, Kyrie Irving did not need that reunion. He did not need the photos. He did not need the social media posts. He did not need the validation. The history books already know what happened in 2016. Every Cavs fan knows what happened in 2016. Every Warriors fan knows what happened in 2016. And every NBA player knows exactly who hit the biggest shot of that final series. That shot is permanent. Nobody can erase it. Nobody can rewrite it. Nobody can take it away, which raises an uncomfortable question. If Kyrie already knows what he accomplished, why would he voluntarily walk into an event where the narrative could once again become centered around somebody else? That is the part many fans do not want to discuss. Because throughout NBA history, there has always been a battle between what happened and how people remember what happened. Those are not always the same thing. The reality of 2016 was that LeBron was phenomenal, but Kyrie was phenomenal too. The reality was that Cleveland needed both of them. The reality was that neither one wins that championship alone. Yet over the years, the public conversation slowly shifted. The comeback became LeBron's comeback. The championship became LeBron's championship. The legacy became LeBron's legacy. And Kyrie gradually became a supporting character in a movie where he once played a leading role. Imagine how frustrating that must feel. Imagine helping build one of the greatest achievements in sports history and then watching the world slowly reduce your contribution to a footnote. That frustration may never have fully disappeared. And maybe that is why Kyrie chose not to attend. Not because he hates anyone, not because he wants attention, not because he wanted drama, but because showing up would have required him to participate in a version of history he may not fully agree with. The older Kyrie gets, the more independent he seems to become. He has never been obsessed with fitting into expectation. He has never been comfortable doing things simply because people expect him to do them. And that's exactly why his absence hit so hard. Most players would have smiled for the camera. Most players would have spent the weekend avoiding controversy. Kyrie chose the harder path. He accepted the criticism. He accepted the headline. He accepted the questions. Because from his perspective, authenticity may have mattered more than approval. And perhaps that is the biggest reason this story exploded. Not because Kyrie attended, not because Kyrie spoke, but because he refused to play a role that he no longer wanted to play. His silence became the loudest statement at the entire reunion. And whether people agree with him or not, the entire basketball world noticed. The Lakers' problem, LeBron cannot escape. While fans were arguing about Kyrie Irving, another story was quietly developing in Los Angeles. And unlike the reunion controversy, this one has the potential to reshape the final years of LeBron James's career. For nearly 2 decades, every team LeBron joined operated according to one simple rule: do whatever is necessary to maximize LeBron's championship window. That was the formula. Miami did it. Cleveland did it. Los Angeles did it. The organization adapted around LeBron because the rewards were obvious. You gained a superstar. You gained relevance. You gained championship hopes. But for the first time in a very long time, the equation is changing. The Lakers are no longer looking only at LeBron. They are looking at tomorrow. And tomorrow looks very different than yesterday. The NBA has become younger. The salary cap rules have become stricter. Roster flexibility has become more important than ever. Teams can no longer throw money around without consequences. One bad contract can cripple a franchise for years. And that's why reports suggesting the Lakers may hesitate to offer LeBron a massive contract are so significant. Because this is not just about money. This is about priorities. The Lakers have to decide what matters more, honoring one of the greatest players in basketball history, or building the strongest possible team for the future. That sounds like an easy question emotionally, but it becomes much harder when front offices start looking at numbers. LeBron remains incredibly productive. Even at his age, he continues to perform at a level that most players could never reach. But Father Time is undefeated. Eventually, every superstar reaches the same crossroads. Michael Jordan reached it, Kobe Bryant reached it, Tim Duncan reached it, Dirk Nowitzki reached it, and now LeBron is approaching it too. The difficult truth is that franchises cannot build based on memory. They have to build based on projections. What will this player look like next year? What will he look like 2 years from now? What flexibility are we sacrificing by making this decision? Those questions are becoming impossible for the Lakers to ignore. And that is why this situation feels so different from previous LeBron contract negotiations. For years, LeBron held most of the leverage. Now, the Lakers may finally be willing to say something that very few organizations have ever been willing to say: we appreciate everything you've done, but we cannot build the future entirely around you anymore. That is a major shift, and it tells us that the NBA landscape may be entering a completely new era. The new Lakers timeline has already begun. The most fascinating part of this entire situation is that the Lakers may have already chosen their direction. They just haven't officially announced it yet. Look at the roster. Look at the conversations happening around the organization. Look at the players being discussed as long-term priorities. Everything points toward the future. Everything points toward the next chapter. And that chapter revolves around younger stars. Luka Doncic represents a completely different timeline than LeBron James. Luka is entering the years where players typically build dynasty. LeBron is entering the years where legends begin managing the final stage of their careers. Those timelines naturally create tension, not personal tension. Basketball tension, because every dollar spent on one timeline is a dollar unavailable for the other. Every roster decision has consequences. Every contract affects flexibility. Every commitment influences future move. And that's where Austin Reeves becomes such an important piece of the puzzle. Many casual fans see Reeves as simply a good role player. NBA front offices see something more value. They see age. They see growth potential. They see trade value. They see flexibility. They see a player who could still improve significantly over the next several seasons. Those are assets that matter tremendously in today's NBA. The Lakers understand this, which means they are evaluating the future differently than they were a few years ago. The franchise is no longer asking, how do we maximize LeBron's remaining years? Instead, they may be asking, how do we maximize the next 10 years? That is a completely different conversation. And once that conversation begins, difficult decisions become unavoidable. LeBron's presence still matters. His leadership still matters. His production still matters. His brand value still matters. But those advantages must now compete with long-term planning. For perhaps the first time in his career, LeBron is experiencing what every aging superstar eventually faces. The organization still respects you. The fans still respect you. The league still respects you. But the future no longer revolves around you. It revolves around what comes next. And that reality is never easy, even for the greatest players who have ever lived, which is why the rumors surrounding the Lakers feel so important. This isn't simply a contract negotiation. It's the symbolic passing of power from one era to another. And whether it happens this season or next season, the transition has already started. The NBA may still belong to LeBron's legacy, but the Lakers are beginning to belong to someone else's future. The legacy is changing in real time. When you put these two stories together, the picture becomes clear. Kyrie Irving skipping the Cavaliers reunion was not just a missing name on a guest list. And the Lakers hesitating on a max deal for LeBron was not just a contract rumor. Both stories point to the same shift. The basketball world is starting to move differently around LeBron James. For years, the LeBron story had gravity. Players were pulled into it. Teams were shaped by it. Media debates were built around it. Championships, failures, teammates, coaches, and front offices all became part of the larger LeBron conversation. But now, that gravity is weakening. Kyrie did not show up just to keep the picture perfect. The Lakers may not pay just to keep the legend comfortable. And that tells us something important about sports, business, and legacy. No career, no matter how great, belongs to one person forever. A championship belongs to everyone who earned it. A team's future belongs to the players who can carry it forward. And respect should never require rewriting the truth. LeBron deserves respect for everything he has done. Kyrie deserves respect for what he contributed in 2016. The Lakers deserve the right to build responsibly. And fans deserve the full story, not just the easiest version. That is the real lesson here. Greatness is powerful, but greatness should not erase other people. Leadership matters, but leadership is strongest when it gives credit, not when it absorbs all the light. And in the end, the most respected legacies are not built by controlling every narrative. They are built by letting the truth stand, even when the truth is complicated. Kyrie's absence reminded people that one shot can never be forgotten. The Lakers' decision reminds people that no era lasts forever. And LeBron's story, as legendary as it is now entering its most delicate chapter. Not because he is no longer great, but because the world around him is no longer willing to pretend the story belongs only to him. If you believe Kyrie was making a statement, type 1" the comment. If you think the Lakers should protect their future over paying for nostalgia, type 2. Like this video, share it with another NBA fan, and subscribe to the channel. For more stories the league does not want you to ignore.